How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. We got Bryan Alvarez here, of course, at Figure 4 Weekly. We got a couple of good guests that we're going to have later in the show. In about 25 minutes, we will have Jack BRISCO, a Hall of Fame professional wrestler, a former collegiate champion. Actually, one of only a handful of men in the history of American pro wrestling to be both a national collegiate champion and a professional wrestling world champion. He was a collegiate national champion in 1965, NWA world champion for most of the period from the summer of 1973 till the end of 1975, and quite a wrestling legend during that period, and involved in a lot of other things. Jack BRISCO's got a new book out called BRISCO, as told to William Murdoch, who's an amateur and professional wrestling historian in the Carolinas, and really good book. Everyone who's read it likes it. We already have a bunch of phone calls on the line for Jack BRISCO, so that's pretty good. We have one line open right now at 1-800-878-PLAY. You can call for Jack BRISCO, or you can call about the current wrestling scene. Second hour, we will have, later in the second hour, we'll have Dana White, the president of the UFC. They have a big pay-per-view coming up on Friday with the Tito Ortiz-Chuck Liddell match that is several years in the making. And it's finally happening Friday night, and maybe a little bit past its peak, although I think that they're just about sold out in Vegas for the match. So anyway, talk about that. Of course, Monday was the lottery draft, and it was, I don't want to say much to do about nothing, but it was sort of close to that. Wouldn't you say, Bryan?
Yeah. Well, by the time SmackDown rolled around, it was.
Yeah.
They kind of did something on Monday, but I guess, I think the story of the draft is that Hunter once again showed that, at least for his own benefit, he's the smartest man in the whole world, because, he was the main star of the draft, and when it was over, he hadn't even been drafted.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, a couple of guys switched. We had, I don't have them all in front of me, but Rene Dupree and, who else? Spike Dudley, the Dudleys, Booker T, who will actually be getting a pretty decent push on SmackDown as a heel, and Rhino on the Raw side, Chuck Palumbo, A-Train on the Raw side, on the Raw side, Shelton Benjamin on the Raw side.
Mark
Jindrak and Teddy Long on the went to the SmackDown side, yeah. Mark Jindrak going to be managed by Teddy Long, as a matter of fact, if plans don't change. That'll probably debut on Thursday SmackDown. And we actually saw an Eddie Guerrero Triple H match, and Eddie Guerrero didn't even beat him. And they're not even going to do a rematch.
That's right.
A couple of news items from the week to get to. First of all, on Friday, one of the television stations, KSAT in San Antonio, reported that police were called to the home of Steve Austin, and his ex-girlfriend was claiming that she had been abused. There were no arrests made, and that's pretty much it for the story. Because of the fact that Steve Austin did have an arrest a couple of years ago regarding his ex-wife, Deborah, it's kind of, I don't know what to say. But there's probably more to the story that we'll know in the next couple of days, I'm thinking. So, I don't know, Bryan, anything on that?
In other words, right now there's nothing more that can be said.
There's nothing more that I really know other than what was reported. And, that's pretty much it. Bob Sapp, earlier today, captured the IWGP Championship, beating Kensuke Sasaki, which makes, the fourth championship change I think they've had since December. Let me see. Shinsuke Nakamura beat Tenzan. Then Nakamura was stripped of the title. Then Tenzan. Nagata was supposed to win. Tenzan won the title. Then Kensuke beat Tenzan 2 weeks ago. And then Bob Sapp beat, Bob Sapp beat Sasaki today. I guess it's an interesting one. It's been well known for a long time that Sapp was going to get the championship. And he is the first, I don't know what I would say, first K1 star ever to be IWGP champion? Well, he is that. I don't want to say first non-wrestler, but he may be. I'd have to look that up.
That's going to be interesting because is he going to tour?
No, I think he's not. I don't think he's going to do another show for them until the May 3rd Tokyo Dome.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Well, they don't have anything else to headline the Tokyo Dome, and I think that they need, a marquee world champion to get their belt back over.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a marquee world champion. He's going to draw, but is it really going to get the belt over to have this big guy that's not going to necessarily have any good matches defending your title?
Well, they're not doing well.
Yeah.
When you're not doing well, you do things. Hey, listen. If you look at David Arquette and Vince Russo when WCW was desperate.
Well, yeah.
You know, at least he looks the part. Remember, who was it? Where was that? Oh, it was a debate with Lou Thesz and Eddie Mansfield about 20-plus years ago on television. And Jim Wilson, as a matter of fact. And Lou Thesz was in the unenviable task of having to defend the legitimacy of professional wrestling while the other guys were saying that, in fact, professional wrestling was fixed.
Oh.
So it put him in a tough position. But anyway, so they, Lou was talking about himself as world champion, and then I think one of them brought up, well, what do you think about Hulk Hogan? And the best Lou could say was, well, he looks the part. So anyway, Bob Sapp looks the part of something. What else? Bret Hart filed a lawsuit against Lloyd's of London earlier this week for non-payment of his disability claim. He actually is not. He had a disability claim in case his career ended due to injury prematurely, which it did. I guess it would have been early 2000 would have been his last match, January 10th, 2000. And here it is, well into 2004, and he has not gotten that payment, and I guess he was tired of waiting. So. Is
this a deal where Lloyd's figured he wasn't really hurt because they've been screwed so many times?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I think he's got a pretty good case right now, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, a lot of those guys that got hurt,
stayed hurt till they were paid off.
Yeah, and some of them even got healthy later. But
yes. Oh, I see what you mean, like really healthy.
Well, healthy enough that their careers were over, and then a lot of them came back.
What I'm saying is, like, these guys were hurt until they got paid off. So maybe Lloyd's is thinking, well, he's going to stay hurt until we actually pay him off, and then he'll suddenly get well.
I don't think that's happening. In this case,
it's not happening, but that may be what they're thinking.
Yeah.
So he would just have to make it very clear.
Yeah, I don't think Lloyd's insured wrestlers anymore.
Yeah, that's why I don't know.
So, but anyway, that's.
They're not insuring me.
Oh, no. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to get to the phones, and we're going to start with Stephen in Nashville. Stephen, what's going on?
Hey, fellas, what's going on tonight?
Not too much.
Hey, I asked a person who answered the phone. I was just going to ask, for some godforsaken reason in my area, they don't carry you on the air. And I was going to ask if I could ask the question, and then you could keep me on until you've answered it, and then you can hang up on me. Is that okay?
Well, we usually do that anyway.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know. I'm a first-time caller.
Okay. Yeah, I usually don't hang up on people too early.
Oh, no. I didn't mean like you. It's just that,
Okay.
I didn't mean that personally. Anyway,
all right.
My question is about Eric Bischoff.
Yes.
I have a comment. I've been an Eric Bischoff fan since 1996. So I followed.
Well, I'm glad you're the one.
Yeah, I followed him from, obviously since the WCW, NWO days.
Yeah.
I'll get to my question. In my mind, in my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes I made though was delete the ratings of WCW by watching WWF and all their D-Generation X and all that. And to this day, maybe I'm stupid, but I regret that because I've always respected Eric Bischoff. A lot of people don't like him, but they got to give him the fact that he ran WCW in a way, unlike Vince McMahon that went down to facts and all that. Eric Bischoff like he stayed away from that.
Well, that's not his choice. That's because he couldn't. If he could have done what Vince.
I've actually seen him in interviews. They'll say that he wouldn't have wanted to gone down that road anyway.
He would have gone. I believe that Eric Bischoff would have gone down any road that would have been successful.
Well, he did kind of say at one point that he thought that all the everything WWF was doing was going to catch up with them. But
eventually
it would hurt. And remember, he said that
eventually it was going to. Yeah.
And remember, he said that. Well, I don't know if you guys know, but he also said, I'll get to the question, but he also, this is the last comment and I'll get to my question. He also said that it hurts the children, what WWF did,
I don't know that WCW programming was so wonderful for children either.
When Vince Russo came, but
even before that, I mean, there was a lot of bite me and crotch chopping, and right. But it's nice to say stuff like that. I mean, Eric was handcuffed by a station that wasn't going to let him go in that direction, so he didn't go in that direction. And then Vince Russo came in, and that's all. That's the only direction Vince Russo wanted to go in.
Matter of fact, when Vince Russo came in, isn't that when Eric Bischoff took his, I guess you could call it leave of absence?
Well, Eric was dumped a couple of weeks before they brought in Russo the first time, and then the second time they came in. Together.
Yeah, you're right, but that lasted about, what, a month?
Yeah, that's about 2 months. That one was doomed.
Yeah, now here's my question.
Yes.
Like I say, I'm a huge Eric Bischoff fan. My dream, eventually, because I really thought Eric Bischoff got screwed on trying to buy WCW by Ted Turner.
He didn't get screwed by Ted Turner. Ted Turner was out of the equation. You could say he may have gotten screwed by Brad Siegel and Jamie Kellner.
Yeah. My question,
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. My question, you can finish that comment, just don't cut me off because I haven't got the...
Okay, go. Just finish your question.
But my question is there any chance that this, with Eric Bischoff now being back in the limelight for the past 2 years, is there any chance that eventually he might get WCW from Vince McMahon or get a company and own its own company?
WCW, no. Another company, yeah, there's always that chance. I don't see it happening right now. I mean, Eric himself has said on numerous occasions he doesn't think that unless you have $150 million, you can compete in this game. So unless there's someone with unless it's a TV network, one of these TV networks that says we want to get into wrestling. If there's a TV network that says we want to get into wrestling and they approach Eric Bischoff, do you want to run it for us? I'm sure he would listen. Anything short of that, I don't see him.
Why do you think it wouldn't be WCW?
Because Vince McMahon owns the name and he's not going to sell it.
Is he going to continue to hold? Don't get mad at me, but this is my opinion. As you probably could tell, I'm a huge Eric Bischoff fan, and I don't like Vince McMahon very much.
Okay.
Why is Vince McMahon, and I know he's using the WCW wrestlers on WWE, but how long is he going to hold it hostage? I mean, is there ever...
It's not a hostage thing. He's just he's got the name, and they're not going to sell it. And I think if Eric Bischoff was going to start something, I think he would start a new brand anyway. I don't think he'd want to buy the WCW name.
Yeah, because Vince McMahon, he'd probably be like, yeah, Vince McMahon's down there spoiled it, so I'll just stop on. Well, I'll just say this. I'll go, and thank you for keeping me on.
Okay.
I think Eric Bischoff, I hope, and I know, and put it this way, if Eric Bischoff gets the chance to have his own company, he will take Vince McMahon to the mat once again. And thank you guys for keeping me on.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
That was certainly unique.
Yeah.
Let's go to John in St. Louis. John, what's going on?
Hey, guys. First of all, I'm just wondering, they're thinking about making this lottery a annual event now?
I haven't heard that, but I would suspect, judging from the rating, that they probably would do that.
But it was basically much ado about nothing.
Yeah, but they got a good rating out of it, so that's why I figured they're going to go, we got a good rating and we didn't do a thing. Yeah, we can do this one once a year.
Yeah, but then the next time everybody will remember what happened last time and say, oh, well,
I hope that next year they have as entertaining general managers as they had on Monday, because actually that was the highlight of the show for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys were good. Yeah, Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman were really good.
I'm just wondering. The thing that depressed me the most, even more with Triple H ego boost again.
Get used to it.
Is the Bradshaw path? Is the new Bradshaw push?
Yeah.
Are they seriously thinking that it's going to be a pay-per-view main event with him?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Join the club.
Well, a lot of people had that reaction.
He can barely go 5 minutes in a tag team match.
I know.
And I'm like wondering, and his big move, Clothesline from Hell, is basically always, half of it has to be sold by the opponent. Well,
we're going to see that either he's going to improve his wrestling or Eddie Guerrero's going to have a real long night.
I mean, I'm just wondering, they keep on cutting these guys, they keep on downgrading these guys, like Matt Hardy, like Booker T, Well, Booker
T's getting kind of a push right now. Matt Hardy, I don't know what happened to Matt Hardy. I should feel sorry for him, except he's got a big house and Matt likes sushi, and I don't know.
I'm just wondering though, but it's like you've got these guys like Bob Holly, Billy Gunn, Bradshaw, and to me it's like you almost need. I would like to see like a cost to how much revenue these guys actually bring in.
Well, you can't. No, I mean, no. Only the top guys you really can look at and see if they bring in revenue. The rest of the guys are guys that, for whatever reason, I mean, they're there. Loyalty, because they don't complain. I mean, there's all kinds of different, reasons why guys are there. And also partially because of a lack of talent to bring in and put in their place. I mean, it's like if you bring up those guys like Bob Holly, there's nobody in OVW as good as Bob Holly right now, I don't think. Maybe Dinsmore, maybe. That's the only one.
That I'll say. I'll say at least Bob Holly can go a 15-minute match. I don't know about the other two guys. It's just like, I'm just, it just seems like, and again, now Triple H I'm assuming he's going to be in the main event for Backlash, and then he's going to do his movie, right? I don't know what the movie schedule is, but, he's going to be in the main event of pretty much every Raw show for the rest of our lives in between his movies, and do his whatever movies they have. So, that's... And I'm just wondering, it's like they're treating Benoit still like that second class, he's the champion, but his match is, during the midpoint of the show. Wasn't it second from the end? And they put Guerrero in the last.
Right, they had the SmackDown main event is the main event of Raw.
But I mean, look at those two matches. I mean, which one would you have put the main event?
Well, you can argue that, but at the same time,
one of them had Triple H as a challenger, one of them had Rhino as a challenger. So the one with Triple H as a challenger is going to be the main event.
Yeah,
I guess, but it's just, I don't know. It's just, the thing is, I've wondered about this, Dave, and I'm wondering if you think this too. I'm wondering if WrestleMania 20 was like a psychological, hurdle that they got to. It's like they peaked up to that moment. Now all the other pay-per-views, there's no psychological thing for the audience to come to, There's something too that they spent a year on WrestleMania. It was a big success. And I see a lot of this. I do see this could wind up like 2001, where they had a phenomenal WrestleMania, and then the next couple of months they really didn't have a lot. And in 2001 there was different reasons for it. And a lot of the guys that made WrestleMania are not long-term guys. So there's gonna be I think there's gonna be a little bit of a drop off. The only thing I see right now that's a diamond in the rough right now, and it's really surprising me right now, is how big of a response John Cena is getting. Now, I was amazed the way he got that response in Detroit there, on Raw there. He's a great talker. John Cena's he's going to have to improve his wrestling, though. That's true. And he's a great talker. He's got a great look. He's got good charisma. And they all know it. I mean, it's not like John Cena's strengths and weaknesses are a secret to anyone in that company. It's the same thing with Randy Orton too. It's just like I'm still waiting for that one match where you say he's a top player. Well, they're grooming him, and you got to remember he's only 23, 24 years old. A lot of guys are being pushed really hard because they have to push some new blood, and a lot of times with new guys, they're getting pushed before they're ready. But you have to do it because you can't. Right. You can't put the same guys against the same guys over and over again because... What's sad about it, Dave, is that they're not using veteran guys to get them over sometimes. I mean, it's like... they are with Randy Orton. They are with Randy Orton, certainly. Foley, that's somebody who's willing to give back to the business and everything like that. It's just, I don't see that thing. I mean, did you see that with Cena and The Undertaker? Really? No, that one didn't happen. He's continuing his gimmick, and he's 40 years old, and he's still a no-sell to everybody. So. Yeah, well, what can I say? That's true, and that's going to happen. I mean, those guys, they're in Vince McMahon's mind, they're proven commodities, and you don't. I mean, to me, when you have a proven commodity, you don't kill them. At the same time, right? At the same time, you can't always keep them on top as well because they've been on top for so long. Yeah, it's a balancing act. Well, thanks for taking my call. Okay, you're very welcome, John. We have got Jack Briscoe on the line, Hall of Fame professional wrestler, former NCAA champion, several years, 2.5 years as world champion, and someone whose book, Briscoe, The Life and Times of National Collegiate and World Heavyweight Champion Jack Briscoe, just came out. Very good book. For those of you especially interested in wrestling in the 70s and 80s, I mean, Jack was in main events everywhere and in the middle of some of the biggest stories in wrestling, including part owner of Georgia Championship Wrestling, involved in the sale of that company to Vince McMahon, which was a huge story. And Jack even was partially responsible for Hulk Hogan getting into pro wrestling. There's just a million questions to ask after reading the book. But, Jack, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thanks, Dave. It's a pleasure being on the show.
Jack, just a couple of weeks ago, you just got back from the NCAA tournament. Now, was this the first time you actually went to that tournament since you actually won it?
Yes, David, it was the very first time. Of course, for 20 years I was in the wrestling business, and of course I never had time to do anything. But since I retired in '85, I've done actually very little to do with the wrestling business or amateur wrestling. And the publisher of my book, his name is Mike Chapman, and he is the owner and director of the Hall of Fame in Newton, Iowa, the Lou Thez, George Clago's museum, and he also published my book, so he wanted me there to do a book signing. And I never had such a good time in my life. I plan on going every year now.
Really?
It was just awesome. I got to go. I didn't get to see all the matches, of course. I was busy, but I did get to see a couple of sessions, and it was in that beautiful big New Kiel auditorium with 8 mats on the floor and 8 matches going at the same time, and just a tremendous crowd too. Every session was sold out. It was just unbelievable. The place holds over 20,000 people, and some of those matches you would think that you were at a pro match, especially with the favorites like people from Oklahoma State. Of course, Oklahoma State won the championship. But a lot of the guys were wrestling other kids from other schools, and there was booing going on and cheering and booing. It was amazing that the crowd reaction of it and the enjoyment that I got out of being there.
How would you compare that and the difference, having been in this thing 39 years ago and then walking back in? I mean, what was the main contrast difference that you could tell?
I'll tell you, the takedown style has changed a lot. It's in my day, it was more controlled. You had the takedown such as a single leg that was very defined and very particular way that you do it. The fireman's carry was very particular way you do it. The double leg takedown. But these guys, it was kind of just you just throw them together and around they go, and through catch as catch can. So the takedown was really different. I only seen a couple of fireman's carries the whole time I was there, which I was really surprised. Nowadays, it's a lot of throws. It's almost like Greco-Roman almost.
Jack Briscoe, one of the handful of people in the history of professional wrestling who was both an NCAA champion and a professional wrestling world champion. And when he was professional wrestling world champion, 1973 to 1975, I mean, there were 3 world championships, but the NWA covered the most territory. And obviously, that champion worked the most dates and certainly traveled the most. And it was the number one spot pretty much financially in the industry, but it was also in many ways the toughest spot in the industry. And, Jack, I guess probably from, I don't know, how old were you when you first dreamed of being world champion? Because I know we talked about a couple days ago, idolizing Lou Thez when you were a teenager.
I sure was, and I wanted to become a professional wrestler while I was in high school. Of course, Danny Hodge growing up there in Oklahoma and being such a great star at the University of Oklahoma, I always wanted to be like Danny. And when I was in high school, also on Saturdays, we used to go to the corner drugstore and pick up the wrestling magazines and thumb through it. And I became a huge wrestling fan just through the magazines. And of course, Lou Thez, everything in the books was about Lou Thez and all the world championships that he had won and all the travels that he had done. And then, of course, after Danny graduated from Oklahoma, the next time I saw him was on the professional wrestling TV show out of Oklahoma City, which Leroy McGurk promoted. And I was just thrilled to see Danny go that route. And ever since then, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. And I owed all to Danny Hodge, which I saw him in St. Louis here at the Nationals last week. And of course, Lou's passed away for a couple of years now, and I owe everything to those 2 guys.
What was it like wrestling? Because you wrestled singles matches. I know you wrestled several times against Lou, and I presume you must have wrestled Danny at some point in a single match. I know you tagged with him a lot.
Yes, I did. I wrestled Danny a lot right after I broke in. I broke in Oklahoma, and Leroy McGurk broke me in there in Oklahoma. And within probably 4 or 5 months, Danny and I had wrestled several times around Leroy's territory, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. And Danny treated me just like I was a veteran and just was very good to me and very professional with me, and everything just went real good. And we even drew a little bit of money, even though I didn't really know what I was doing.
When you were world champion, of course, when they suggested, and then I think it'd been inevitable. I don't want to say inevitable but certainly from 1971 on, if you were following wrestling, it appeared that Jack Briscoe was the number 2 guy behind Dory Funk Jr. And Dory Funk Jr. was a very, very successful champion, and he had a 4+ year run. And it's quite the story of how you got the title. 4 days before you were going to win it, what happened exactly?
Well, I think the Funks were programmed against me from the start, from when I very first started. But I was supposed to get the title probably a year earlier or something like that. And Dora Jr. supposedly had a wreck on their ranch. An old pickup truck turned it over in a ditch or something on the ranch, and claimed that he hurt his shoulder, so he had to take time off for a while. And he didn't show up. We already had the match signed. It was supposed to be in Houston, Texas. And, of course, I got to Houston, and I already knew that Junior had staged his shoulder injury. And Sports Byline USA took Junior's place that night, and people were disappointed. I was very disappointed, and then I had to wait for months and months before I got a chance at the title again. And he refused to drop it to me, and ended up dropping it to Harley Race in Kansas City.
Now, when you were champion, reading in the book, I mean, the one thing, I mean, there was the positives and the negatives. At what point did the negatives overwhelm the positives? Because they didn't take the title from you. You were trying to get out for quite a while before you finally lost.
Yeah, I was just completely mentally and physically drained. Wearing that championship belt, as you stated earlier, I was always jealous of the Gagne's world champion and the WWF world champion, because they didn't have to work near as many times as I did, or have to travel as much as I did. But I was just physically and mentally worn out, and I was ready to get out of it. And they kept telling me, "Yeah, Jack, we'll do it soon. We'll do it soon." It just kept going on and on and on. And it was kind of a requirement that the champion go to the NWA meeting every year. And so when it came time for that, I just didn't show up. I knew that would make everybody mad enough that they would do something about it. And so then they set a date right there, and then decided to put the belt on Terry Funk down in Miami.
You didn't have any problem as far as, Terry Funk? I mean, you'd known him since the Amarillo days, very early in your career.
Yeah, I always got along good with Terry. Terry and I became good buddies, and we worked a lot all over the country, and we did real well together. And Terry was a very fun-loving guy, very free-spirited guy. And after I got the belt, and I tried to put all that stuff with Old Man Funk and Junior behind me. I just didn't want to spend any time on that being bitter or dealing with that anymore, so I put it all behind me, and I had no problem with putting a belt on Terry. I was just glad to get it off of me.
Looking back on your career, are there any matches that, come to you as your favorite matches by looking back?
Yeah, my matches, a lot of my matches with Junior were very, I thought, outstanding matches. My matches with Harley, I thought, was really good, and a couple of matches in Japan, one with Baba, and also one with Antonio Inoki was a very outstanding match. They put the match with me and Inoki on video in Japan. It was like the top video seller for 10, 15 years over there. So that match sticks out. And one of the matches with Ric Flair was really outstanding, too.
When did you start working with Ric Flair?
Well, I started working with Rick probably the last year I was champion. He was just getting over really big in Charlotte, and they would always Crockett's were talking about trying to get the belt on him, so he would come to Florida and work with me here in Florida. And we also had a program in St. Louis that was quite successful. And I could tell, and I think everybody could tell, that Rick was just an outstanding talent, and would sooner or later become the world's champion. Rick had it all going for him. Good-looking guy, a great talker, and a great worker. So.
What do you think of seeing him on TV today at 55?
I just think it's amazing. He is an amazing athlete, and it's, you know, I watch it every once in a while. I don't watch it a lot, but I watch it occasionally, and he looks like the best talent they have to me.
You know, you are in a lot of ways unique in this business, but one of the ways you were unique is that you retired from wrestling in 1984, and you never wrestled again.
Yeah, I'm one of the, I think the only one.
The only one of your caliber, I think.
And stuck to it.
I mean, when, you know, and it wasn't like you even had a big farewell or anything. It was like you were on the road and you went home, and that was it. I mean, did you ever like think, you know, like, wow, you know, maybe it should have been different, or was it just like, this is it? What led to that decision to just go home?
Well, we were in, again, working for Vince in the WWF at the time, and we were working there. Vince was just getting everything started nationwide, so we were traveling nationwide, and 7 days a week, just as always, and just a hard grind. And it was in the middle of winter time, and we were in, Jerry and I were in Pennsylvania. We were in Pittsburgh one day, and it was just freezing cold, and I was just so tired and worn out, and I hadn't been home in a couple of weeks, and we flew into Newark, New Jersey, and we were going to go to Philadelphia that night, and it was just snowing so hard you couldn't see your hand in front of you, and we was trying to find our car in the parking lot, and everything was snowed in. We hunted for an hour in the parking lot and couldn't find the car because everyone was snowed under, had 2 foot of snow on it. I kept hearing these airplanes take off to the south, and I told Jerry, I said, man, the next one of them, I'm going back in that airport, and the next plane going south, I'm going to be on it. So,
what did Jerry say?
Jerry said, well, if that's what you really want to do, and I said, well, don't let it influence you. You do whatever you need to do, but I'm heading home. I've had enough, and I'm quitting right here.
You know, now, just recently, Brock Lesnar, I don't know if you're even aware of this, but Brock Lesnar basically walked out of WWE, and he was former college champion and a world champion for on and off for the last couple of years, kind of a meteoric rise to the top, wanting to be a football player. I mean, can you sympathize with the idea of, you know, like 26 years old, wanting to leave professional wrestling? I mean, can you offer maybe an insight that maybe someone who didn't come from the same world as Brock really wouldn't understand, or?
Yeah, I understand it completely. He was under a lot of pressure, and he was, you know, the WWE had been down in recent months and had been drawn real well, and they went with Brock and put all the pressure on him, not only for the TV ratings, but to draw the big houses and to do the big pay-per-view buys and stuff. And I think the pressure really got to him. I think he handled it well for a while, but for a young guy, and especially a guy inexperienced with very little working experience, I think the pressures of all of it and having all that responsibility put on you, and I think that it just took those wear and tear on him, and I understand that, you know, traveling a lot, and I understand he's lost his family, and they're going through a divorce, and has got a young baby, and it's just been devastating to him personally. And I don't think it's been very gratifying, the success that he's had enough. And I know he's a great athlete, and he wants very badly to try to play football. And he's had probably 6 or 8 different teams call him and invite him to a workout. So I wish him all the best, and I completely understand what he's going through physically and mentally. Did you,
coming in from amateur to pro, was there ever a time before, say, 71, when you really were hitting it big on top, where you were just going like, you know, maybe working for Nick Goulas or one of these territories where you're just like, what am I doing? Or was it one of those things where you were just like, you know, I'm going to make it, and you never really thought of it that way?
I really did think of it that way. I thought of quitting several times. Of course, working for Amarillo for the Old Man Funk, I really seriously thought about quitting because the way he just treated me terrible. Had me doing jobs for about in less than 2 minutes, and then for a couple of weeks there, and then he didn't even book me as a wrestler. He started booking me as a referee, and I told him, you know, what are you doing? You know, I don't want to be a referee. I want to be a wrestler. He said, I'm just trying to help you, kid. Thought about quitting several times then, and then, of course, working for Goulas that you mentioned. God, what a horrible place that was, and horrible conditions. And remember my first payoff in Tennessee was $12.50, and I just couldn't believe it, you know, being away from home, a college man and a national champion. I was, what in the world? I'll go back and finish my school. I needed 15 more hours to graduate. and become a teacher and a coach. And then I went to Texas, to Dallas from there, and worked for Fritz, and things started getting better, and things improved from there, and I never gave it a second thought again.
Jack, really quick, could you tell everyone how to get a copy of the book?
Yes, Dave. Right now it's available through jackbrisco.com. We are working together with a distributor, and the contract should be settled sometime this week where it'll be available in the stores. But right now, you get it to jackbrisco.com, and autograph copies will be available with any inscription that you would like on it. And it'll be mailed out immediately for you just to go to jackbrisco.com. And there's an excerpt on there on one of the chapters on the night I won the world title, so they'll be able to read that. And
yeah, is it available on WrestlingClassics.com as well?
Yes. I'm a member of WrestlingClassics.com, and also we have a pay-per-view starting in April the 9th. Debuts called Ringside Retribution, and there's some great old matches out of the Tampa and St. Petersburg area with the guys like Danny Hodge, Lou Thez, Bob Orton Jr., Don Morocco, Buddy Cope, Brian Blair, Harley Race, Dory Funk Jr., and it's going to be quite a pay-per-view, so it starts on April the 9th.
Yeah, that I've seen some of those matches from the old Florida days, and if you've ever heard about it, it's something that you would really want to see. Our guest, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, former NCAA Champion, Jack Briscoe, who one of his oldest professional wrestling friends, I think, is on the line right now. We're going to go to Philadelphia and Bill Apter. Bill, how are you doing today?
Not that old. Hello, Dave. Hello, Jack Briscoe.
Oh, man. How you been, Bill? I haven't seen you in years and years.
I've been holding on for 45 minutes, and when I found out you were on there today, I wanted to make a public statement that very few people know. First of all, probably one of the greatest series of matches I ever saw in my life was in the 70s, Jack Briscoe against Dory Funk Jr. It doesn't matter where the match took place. For 1 hour, I was there with my camera on the ring, photographing those matches, and it was like artwork watching the two of you against each other.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate
it. The second thing I want to say, it's because of Jack Briscoe that I've been doing what I do for 35 years.
Wow.
And very few people know this. Back in, it was the end of 1970 or early 1971, when Eddie Graham brought Jack Briscoe to Madison Square Garden. I was sitting in the home office of Stanley Weston, the publisher of the magazines I used to work for, and he looked at me and he said, I just got a call from Eddie Graham that he's bringing this new good-looking guy, Jack Briscoe, and I want him for an interview. You get the interview, you got the job.
Hold on. Are you ready? What is wrong with this?
Hello?
Okay, go ahead. Everything's taken care of. We had some mechanical difficulty.
Are you still there?
We're all here.
Okay. So, Jack, can you still hear me?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, so Stanley Weston said, you get the interview with that Briscoe guy, and you got the job. So I went to Madison Square Garden, and I found Eddie Graham, and I said, listen, because I had met him a few months before that in Florida when I was on vacation with my parents down there. And I said, I need to talk to you. I said, this guy, Jack Briscoe, I don't know him or anything. Could you introduce me to him? I need like 10 minutes, for an interview with him. And Eddie Graham said, sure. And he brought me in to meet Jack. Jack, you were so nice to me, warm handshake. And you just said, in that great radio voice that you have, hey, Bill, I can do anything you need. And he sat with me for about an hour, and I still have the audio tape.
Wow.
Really?
I have all the audio tapes of all the interviews I did back in Florida and almost throughout, the first 15 years of my career. But I just wanted to thank you personally because, that day you could have just been in a wrong mood and said, hey, no, I don't feel like it, or, just not want to do it. And through the years, always, whenever I saw you on the road, you were always a friend, and you're always one of the most gracious gentlemen I ever met in or out of this business. And I wanted to come on here and say that tonight.
Well, thank you, Bill. I really appreciate that. And, it was the first interview that I had ever done for the national magazine.
Yes, it was.
So it was kind of a first for you and a first for me, and it was also the first time I had been in New York City and in the Garden. And I was just like the kid from Oklahoma looking at all the tall buildings and taking it all in, it was just a thrill for me.
Well, the name of the story turned out to be Jack Briscoe Tells It Like It Is. And, this was, a beginning war for you, as you're saying, and for me, too, because that kick-started Stanley Weston, the publisher, into saying, hey, this guy, goes after an interview, and he gets it. And, like I said, that literally put the key in the ignition for this whole thing.
Jack, when you were a high school senior, I mean, you had a tough decision to make because Oklahoma was the football wrestling power back in 1959, 1960, and Oklahoma State was the wrestling power, and you were starring both sports.
Yeah, it was one of the toughest years that I've ever went through. It was one of the toughest decisions I ever had to make because Oklahoma, Bud Wilson, Oklahoma was just every kid that grew up in Oklahoma and played football would die to go to OU and play football for Bud Wilson. And the same on the other hand, if you were a wrestler, you would just die to go to Oklahoma State and wrestle for Mine Robert because they won the Nationals every year. So here I was rooted in as a football player by Oklahoma and a wrestler and recruited by Oklahoma State. And I laid awake so many nights just wrestling and going over what decision I was going to make. And I knew that football and wrestling overlapped, and it would be very difficult to do both, and I didn't want to have to try to do both. I wanted to concentrate on one. So to make that decision was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life, and I think I made the right one. And professional wrestling and wrestling's been very good to me ever since.
Bill. Is Bill still there? Bill, you still there, right? Oh, okay. Bill, are you there?
I'm here. Dave, I'm a little upset.
Yes.
When you said we'll be right back, Bill, hold on. The commercial that went on right as I went off was a commercial about baldness.
I caught that, too.
I noticed you did. Jack, I wish I still had your hair.
Yeah.
Your hair, too.
Bill.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm here, Dave.
Yeah. Bill, anything else you want to say to Jack, or?
Well, basically, I just wish that so many of the wrestlers today had the same sensibility and the same pride in what they did in the ring as Jack Briscoe had in all the years. And I'm glad when Jack Briscoe walked away from it that he never came back, because usually with very few exceptions, when guys do that and they come back, it makes their legend very sour. Jack Briscoe walked away at the right time, and Jack, your legend is always intact, and I will always, again, appreciate what you did for me and for the entire wrestling business, that you made the wrestling, and it's such a cliche, what is on the marquee, you brought professional wrestling to the wrestling business.
Well, thank you so much, Bill, and I appreciate it, and I'll never forget that first interview we did in Madison Square Garden, and the first article in the national magazine that you wrote about me, and I've always appreciated that, and I'll always remember it. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, and, of course, that was Bill Apter, who's been working on wrestling magazines for ever. and I didn't know that Jack Briscoe was his first big interview.
Yes.
Wow. Jack, turning to another part of your career, in 1972 there was a big wrestling war in Atlanta, the NWA against All South Wrestling, which was formed by Ann Gunkel after the death of Ray Gunkel, and you being one of the biggest stars in the industry, I think that they invited a couple of the wrestlers, you and Bill Watts, I think, and maybe Buddy Colt and Tim Woods, all ended up with stock in the company.
Yes.
Which ended up about 12 years later being huge because, of course, Georgia Wrestling got on the Superstation with Ted Turner, and it was the first real national cable wrestling show in the late 70s, and by the early 80s there was a big wrestling war brewing because Vince McMahon wanted to go national. Probably the company that was most equipped to challenge, realistically, because of the TV was Georgia Championship Wrestling. And you and your brother Gerald, who ended up in an ownership role years later, and some of the other stockholders. And I guess you and Gerald mainly were the ones who went to Vince McMahon. And what was your thought process in 1984 when you made that deal?
Well, the process was that our territory, the Georgia Championship territory, we had that powerful TV, and Jim Barnett was the majority owner at the time, and Jerry and I kept trying to get, that time parts of Ohio and Michigan had not been ran in years, so we went in there to those like Columbus and Cleveland and a lot of those places around that hadn't been ran in years with our Georgia Championship grew just off the Turner TV, and my God, we sold out all those buildings and just did tremendous business through there. So I kind of saw that, and Jerry did too, as an opportunity just to go to other parts of the country, and we wanted to get the book where TBS went in, where all their strongest viewings were and their highest ratings, and go in and run those towns kind of like a spot show. And Jim Barnett said, "Oh my God, I can't do that. All these promoters around the country are my friends. I can't do this to my friends." And so Jim refused to do it when we had all the big stars and everything in place to do it, but Jim just absolutely refused to do it. And he later sold out to someone else. But I could see that Vince McMahon, he was doing it, and he was going around buying a lot of local TV. He didn't have the ability that we had, but going nationwide, so he was buying spots on local TVs all over the country, and I could see what was going on, and I knew he was going to win. I knew that was how the business was going to go.
When did you figure out that Vince was going to win?
I knew right away, because all the small territories, it was getting so expensive to operate. The television production was so much, and that rent was tremendous on these buildings, and you was required to have these huge insurance policies on every building, on every match that you ran, and it was getting to where in the small territories the expenses of all that was just getting so tremendous it was hard to make a profit. And I could see that really the TBS and the national way was really the only way to go to make it profitable and be able to stay in business. And I could see Vince was going that route, and so I just wanted to get on with it and try to get out of the business while there was still worth something to get.
And what was your thoughts as far as now when you did this, you actually now you made the deal without Ole Anderson knowing, or how did that all go down?
Yeah, so there was Jerry, myself, and a fellow named Oates who lived in Columbus, Ohio, and Paul Jones, who owned 20% of it.
And now we make clear that's not the Paul Jones that you wrestled many times.
No, that's not the Paul Jones.
The older Paul Jones who was a wrestler years earlier. Yeah.
So I got his proxy, and I knew if Ole found out, and Ole and his group, it ended up I had 51% with Paul Jones's proxy and Mr. Oates' proxy, and I knew that if Ole found out what we were doing, that he would try to sink the whole deal. So I did it without telling Ole or the other major stockholder, was Fred Ward out of Columbus, Georgia, and they were just trying to hang on, and it was so expensive that we were hardly making any money there, and what little money we were making was going to Ole, and his group was getting all the money. There was hardly any money left over for anybody else. So we went and made the deal, and found a lawyer there in Atlanta, and Vince flew in. We all met in Atlanta at the lawyer's office, and we sat there for 2 days hammering out the contracts, and even Vince wanted, after we agreed to do it, he wanted a couple more weeks to think about it. And I told him, if we leave that office and word gets out, I said, the deal will never get done. So I said, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right here, or it's never going to get done. So we stayed there for 2 days hammering out the contracts and got it done.
That was a real important deal for Vince, because in 1984 and early 1985, until he lost the time slot to Jim Crockett, Vince had USA Network, and he had TBS. He had basically all the national TV. At the time, wrestling was getting a lot of mainstream publicity because a lot of other moves Vince was doing at the first WrestleMania. And, Ole did get television early on an early Saturday morning time slot, but, at 7 a.m., Eastern time, I believe it was, which is 4 a.m. Pacific time, the viewership wasn't nearly as large. I want to get to Ed in San Antonio, who's been waiting forever to talk to Jack Briscoe, probably his whole life, maybe. Ed, what's going on?
Not too much. Just about ready to run into work here, so I need to be real quick. Mr. Briscoe, it's an honor to talk to you. I've known about you since the late 70s when I started watching wrestling, and you're one of the greats of all time. And I have 2 questions I want to ask, and I'll ask them real quick, and then I got to go to work, and I'll just hear the response on the replay. And my questions are, what are your opinions on women's amateur wrestling? And also, I heard from an old-time wrestler, I forgot who it was, that you and Danny Hodge used to have some friendly skirmishes in the back. And I just wanted to know who would win those. And thanks for taking my call, guys, but I got to go. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so much, Ed. Jack, any thoughts on those 2 questions?
Okay, I didn't hear the line again.
Okay, well, the first one was, what do you think, now that women amateur wrestling and women's wrestling coming to the Olympics, as a matter of fact?
I think it's excellent, and that's what I've always liked about amateur wrestling in schools and high schools and junior highs. It gives every athlete of every size a chance to compete. You don't have to be a football player or tall for a basketball player. It gives people of every size a chance to compete and play in sports. And of course, since Title IX came in, the women have been able to do all of these sports. And I only heard about it myself about a few weeks ago. And I think it'd be awesome. I think it'd be fun to watch. I know here locally here in Tampa, Florida, that I go to my nephew's wrestling matches, and there's 3 or 4 girls on about every team that we go to watch, and they do very well. I think it's excellent.
Yeah, I've seen that because my brother-in-law wrestles in high school, and we see a couple of women, pretty much at every meet that are competing with the guys. The other question was, did you ever have friendly skirmishes with Danny Hodge, and how did you do against him? And what would your thoughts be of Jack Briscoe versus Danny Hodge?
Oh my God, that would be one of the stiffest matches probably of all times. Danny and I, we've traded takedowns before, and then I'd say it's pretty even. That his arm strength, his hand strength is where the difference lays. I was just in St. Louis with him last weekend, and fans would come up to him and bring apples for him to squash into applesauce. And then at his age today, he's still squeezing apples right into pieces. So it'd be very close. Okay.
Jack, I'm sorry that we're out of time because, this has been really fascinating. I want to let everyone know again, I highly recommend the book, Briscoe, The Life and Times of National Collegiate and World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion Jack Briscoe. And you can get it at www.jackbriscoe.net, as well as Wrestling Classics. And also, some of Jack's matches from the 70s in Florida will be on pay-per-view on in-demand starting on April the 9th. And I recommend that, too, because there's some really fascinating matches, including...
Great matches with Johnny Valentine, Luthez, and Danny Hodge. And also I'm going to be in Las Vegas for the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Great. Bryan and I are going there, too.
Fabulous. I'll be looking forward to seeing you there. I'll be signing books there.
Okay, great. So, if you're in Vegas, you want to get a copy of the book, he'll be bringing books to there as well. So, Jack, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. I've really enjoyed it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, too, and I'd like to get you back sometime soon.
Anytime. I'll be glad to.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Jack Briscoe, one of the all-time greats of professional wrestling, former college champion. Book just came out. We're going to go right to Dana White in just a second. We're going to go to Alan real quick in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Alan, what's going on?
Hey, Dave. I guess I missed Jack.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to him about the matches he had with Dusty Rhodes and Terry Funk. And so
we're going to get Jack back on pretty soon because we only scratched the surface.
Oh, I know. I heard the book's really good. I'm looking forward to purchasing it. Do you know about his relationship with Dusty Rhodes? I know him and Terry were tight as far as...
I don't even know. I mean, they wrestled and they were in Florida together forever, but I don't really know the answer to that.
Is it in the book, or...?
He talks a lot about Dusty Rhodes in the book, but I don't really, it was nothing, I don't think they really talked much about, I don't notice, didn't say anything about being enemies, that's for sure. I don't really remember him, saying that he was one of his best friends either, but,
And I wanted to ask you about Goldberg. Is he going to wrestle in Japan? I know
Yes, he will be wrestling in Japan.
He was kind of derogatory towards McMahon in the interview in Edmonton.
Yeah, I was surprised he was as much as he was, because they still have they still have an offer on the table for him, and I thought, I didn't think that he would do it now, but I thought that at some point he would come back, and I still do think at some point he'll probably wrestle again for WWE, but maybe he won't. Maybe he really,
What was his stance? He had some matches with Hunter, but, that heat, did that play a part in any of the, matches? And you know what I'm saying? Was there a problem?
He didn't have any problem. As far as working with him, no. And he got along with him.
He did get along with him.
Bill got along with Hunter, real well. I mean, there's the games, no doubt about it. And I think he realizes it, and everyone realizes it. It was bound to happen. I mean, it's a funny thing because, before Goldberg came, Hunter had said some things, and everyone knows about their past. They had that thing at the Toy Fair where Goldberg lost his temper at him. So,
behind him.
And I'm sure, and I don't know if Bill was sabotaged, but obviously everyone knows he wasn't used correctly in WWE, to his full potential, and,
expect him to work there again.
I just think it's inevitable just because it's the only place in the States, and he's a professional wrestler, that someday it'll happen again. But maybe not. If Bill does well in acting, the one thing is the WWE schedule makes it hard to do a movie, although he did one on the deal, on this thing. And, the Japanese schedule where he's only wrestling a match every now and then makes it easier. So, maybe he'll do that. And, he's physically beat up. He had a lot of football years and things like that. And, if he can get a great deal where he's making huge money in Japan doing, a match every 2 months, that's not the worst deal in the world either. Bill's been very lucky financially. He's made a lot of money.
Yeah, one last question real quick. Is Hogan going to be wrestling for TNA, or is that...
No. I don't think so.
Do you think he ever intended on coming in, or was it...
Personally, no, I think he never intended. I don't know that, but I don't think he ever intended. No, I think he was doing that as a way to leverage his way on WrestleMania. It didn't work, and then he just kind of lost interest in leverage. Yeah, I think so.
All right, thank you.
Okay, very welcome. We are going to go to Las Vegas and Dana White. Dana, are you on?
I'm here. How are you, Dave?
Doing really good, Dana. And, of course, this Friday is UFC with the long-awaited Tito Ortiz-Chuck Liddell match, as well as Tim Sylvia and Andrei Arlovsky for the vacant heavyweight championship.
Correct.
And wanted to talk to you about, some of the things that have been going on and everything. And as far as future of UFC, anything that's going to be changing? TV, how's that all stand right now?
We're working on all that. We're real close. These things take a long time, Dave, and I've said before that I'm very confident that we are going to be on television by fall, and I'm very, very confident that we will be on television by fall. There's no doubt in my mind now it will happen.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah. I mean, the deal signed yet, and I don't like to talk about any deal that isn't signed yet, whether it's a fighter or whatever, but yeah.
As far as last time we were on, do you have kind of the concept in your head of what you want to do with the television show?
I do, but you know what? Originally, what we had planned in our head isn't exactly what the TV people had planned in their head. So I think that we're going to have to come out with a soft sell on this thing when we first come out on television. It's not going to be weekly fights like I had anticipated before. I think we're going to go more along the lines of a reality.
Oh, a reality TV show building up to a fight or something?
Built more around the fighters and how everything works, and building up into, probably a pay-per-view fight.
Okay. And as far as, what have you been hearing as far as Tito and Chuck and as far as their training? And
they're both on. Chuck Liddell is in Las Vegas right now. He got here yesterday. He feels great. He looks great. I talked to Tito yesterday and today, and he says his training is right on, and he'll be here tomorrow.
Ticket sales.
Ticket sales were outstanding. This is the fastest selling fight we've ever had, faster than UFC 40, faster than 44, 43, all of them. This was the fastest selling fight we've ever had. We're not completely sold out yet, but we plan on being sold out this week.
What is the schedule like right now as far as Vitor Belfort and Randy Couture rematch?
Vitor, obviously everybody knows that Vitor's had no word on his sister yet, and he's very, very emotionally messed up right now, and he asked me if I could hold that fight off until August or September. So it will be either in August or September.
Okay. What about filling the vacancies as far as the 155 and 185-pound weight class?
The 155-pound title will be the winner of Yves Edwards and Hermes Franco will fight Josh Thompson for the title.
Okay.
Then the 185-pound division, Baroni is going to fight Evan Tanner, and Lee Murray's going to come in and fight somebody in that same show. Those two, then the winner of those two fights will take on Matt Lindland, who's sitting top of the heap right now.
We're here with Dana White, the head of Zuffa Ultimate Fighting Championship. Friday night, big pay-per-view with Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell, a match that's been talked about for literally years, finally taking place on Friday. And the winner of that fight, obviously, is going to be in line for the winner of the Vitor Belfort-Randy Couture match. That would probably be later, very late this year, I'm guessing. Is there any talk, from the last pay-per-view? Obviously, there was a lot of stuff on the mic and everything with Tito Ortiz and involving Lee Murray. Are you thinking in that direction, or is that, how does that stand?
That actually all just happened. That wasn't planned. What's his name? Joe Rogan said, hey, whatever happened with Tito Ortiz and all that, and then it escalated from there. We hadn't planned on that. We did plan on bringing Chuck and Tito into the ring to hype the next fight, but all the Lee Murray stuff, wasn't planned.
Lee Murray's fighting Friday, right?
No, he's not fighting Friday.
No,
he'll be fighting on the next show. Our next show is going to be in Las Vegas, June 19th, which is a Saturday, and Murray will be on that card.
Okay.
Now, what happened? I know on that next show it's going to be Ken Shamrock and Chemo. And what happened with Tank Abbott? Was it just he didn't want to fight, or?
Yeah, you know what? Tank is, I don't know. Tank's kicking back right now. There's a lot of, speculation about K1. Not true. Tank just wasn't in the mood. He said, he does want to fight Ken Shamrock, and I think he's going to wait. If Ken wins this fight, we'll probably do Tank and Ken down the road.
Okay. As far as the Tim Sylvia Arlovsky fight, are there any heavyweight contenders? Cabbage or someone like that you're kind of looking at down the road?
We got Frank Mir, we got Cabbage. Cabbage has won 6 in a row, and I think only one of them by decision. Cabbage is definitely in the running, and Frank Mir is the next in line.
Okay. And as far as for Friday's show, is there any media appearances to look forward to this week?
Yeah, we've got Jimmy Kimmel Live. Tito just told me he's doing Leno probably Tuesday night.
Oh, really? Wow.
And the Best Damn Sports Show on Wednesday.
Okay, so you got stuff coming up this week.
Yep, and tons of radio, tons and tons and tons of radio. There's a lot of, I've been spending a lot of time in L.A. lately, and because of all the stuff that we have going on right now, and there's a huge buzz in L.A. for this fight right now.
Mm-hmm.
Big buzz.
What as far as things that maybe ideas that you have or changes or anything like that, is there anything coming up that maybe we'll see on this show or upcoming shows?
As far as
I don't know, any kind of
production or stuff like that?
Production or any ideas? Yeah.
No, nothing new. Same format. I'm really, really happy with that. I've been here all day. We've been in the edit bay putting together all the vignettes and the show open and the features and things like that. I'm really happy with the work that we've done on the show. I think this is going to be a great show. You put all the pieces together and then now executing it live, and hopefully this is going to be as top notch as UFC 40 was.
One of the things on the last show, and you never know what you're getting. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it looks like such a great main event on paper, and then it was just one of those things. And there's nothing else you could do. The fight.
It was a great event, and then anticlimactic at the end. But it's real fighting, and those things happen.
Yeah. No. So is there if something like that happened? Is there any thoughts as far as showing more of the prelim matches? Just because that was the one thing when that show was over I was thinking there's some prelim fighters that we could have seen, just because the main event did go so short.
Absolutely, you're right. And it's one of those things where the thing you got to understand is it's live television. It's live right there. And, we didn't expect that. Then we're up there, talking to the commission. Was that a no contest? Was it this? Was it that? And the show is rolling. So those guys ended up, the production closed the show. We definitely could have showed a couple of prelims. I don't remember exactly what time-wise where we were that night. I can't remember. I think all the prelims went the distance, so we probably could have shown one.
Yeah.
But again, we're in the middle of a live show. A guy gets cut like that. He loses his title. We're talking to the commission. We're trying to figure out, is this a no contest? Is it, and they're like, no, it was done by a punch. They're looking at the replays, and you know what I'm saying? So, it was definitely a production mistake that we could have done it, but, per our contract with with the pay-per-view companies, we can go off like 2 hours and 20 minutes into the show or something like that.
Now, as far as, are you going to be bringing in Baroni, Tanner, Shamrock, or Chemo to the show?
Yeah, Ken will be here. Chemo is in Brazil right now. Phil Baroni is in Japan. And but Ken Shamrock will be here. There's a ton of fighters. There's a ton of fighters coming to this fight. Ton of fighters, a lot of celebrities. It's going to be a big show.
What's Baroni doing in Japan?
He's training with Ensign Inoue.
Oh, that's right. I did read that. Read that.
Yeah, he is. She's out there training with Ensign. Ensign's fighting in Super Brawl on the 16th, and Baroni's just helping him get ready for it. And then Baroni's going to come back here and start training for his fight June 19th.
And how's he been? As far as he got his suspension shortened, then, right?
Yeah, he went out and hired an attorney, and they went down and he appealed and he won.
Mm-hmm.
I told him not to waste his money on an attorney. I wouldn't waste my attorney. You're not very loved down there at Mohegan, but he did it and he got it overturned. So good for him. And
they both looking forward to that fight. Him and Tanner both.
Very much so. Yeah, they're both fired up for the fight. I think Evan wants to prove that it wasn't
Because that was a unique fight because I can if you watch the first fight, which was an interesting fight, it can go either way because Baroni was rocking him, yep. and Evan kind of got lucky in that he was cut and they stopped it, and then when he came back, Baroni kind of punched himself out, and Evan was on top, and Evan was hammering him.
True.
But it was
Phil wasn't hurt.
Yeah, but he wasn't hurt. The time was running out in the round, but he was in a real bad spot, and you don't know if he would have lasted or not. You don't.
It was an unfortunate situation. You had a case where Baroni's always an exciting fighter. He's always in an exciting fight. Say whatever you want about him, he's always in an exciting fight, no matter who he's fighting. And he comes out. He hurt Evan early, rocked him a few times, and then they stopped the fight and actually allowed the guy to work on the cut, which is never done. That's, you either the doctor comes in and looks at the cut and says whether they're able to continue or not continue. Guys came into the ring and actually worked on the cut and stopped the bleeding and gave him time to recover. So then the fight starts again, and Baroni actually ends up getting mounted where Evan's dropping down elbows. There's 15 seconds left, and then the referee, is going back and forth with Baroni and then ends up stopping the fight. It was just one of those unfortunate things. So Evan Tanner wants to come back and prove that the referee had nothing to do with it, that he would have stopped him anyway. And Baroni's coming back to prove that, he can win. He can beat Evan Tanner.
Is there anything going on with Pride? I mean, I know everyone always talks about, Vitor Belfort and Vanderlei Silva. Is there any chance that could happen?
Anything's possible, and, I'm waiting right now for Pride to reciprocate. I've sent Chuck Liddell over there 3 times and Rico Rodriguez over there once, and they haven't sent one person over to the UFC. So when they reciprocate, then we'll start talking about things that we can do in the future.
Have you heard of anything do you think they're actually going to come to the States? Because, we've been hearing that for years, and I hear
it all the time, but I welcome them. Let me tell you, if they're planning on coming to the States, it's like last time when everybody said the date that they were coming here. I knew that was impossible. I run 5 to 6 shows here a year. I know what it takes to put on a show here in America, and that wasn't enough time. So now they're saying that they're going to come here in September, and, I know what's going on in September, and if they're really coming in September, that's a tough month to come. So I wouldn't hold my breath.
Now, are you thinking of doing anything overseas, Japan, Brazil, anywhere like that?
I'm working on a show right now, possibly in October in Japan.
Okay. And any type of Japanese involvement, or?
Nope, just us.
Okay. As far as I'm just trying to think what other things going on is coming off of the last show. I mean, what was your thoughts when that thing was over? I mean, as far as you were heading on track for a really good show, and then you had that main event which went about 50 seconds.
Yep. It sucks.
Yeah.
Those things happen. There's nothing you can do. It's live TV and it's real fighting. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's the way it happens. We had some great fights set up at UFC 45, and you get you get the stoppage, the Baroni thing, and then the Tank Abbott thing. I mean, things happen. There's nothing you can do when it's live and it's real.
As far as some of these other fights, we've got Cabbage against Mike Kyle. Yep. What do you know about Kyle? Because he hasn't been in the UFC before.
I actually went and saw him fight at the WEC, and he's huge. He's never been out of the first round. Usually stops guys, and I couldn't tell much from him that night. He went in, shot him. This guy took him down and pounded him in 30 seconds. So I know he's not going to do that to Cabbage. So it should be an interesting fight. Two big guys. I'm sure they're going to bang it out. And love those kind of fights. We got Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz. Mm-hmm. Lawler, his last couple of performances, he got injured during the Pete Spratt fight. Came back and fought a tough kid in Chris Hiddle. So tough that we brought him back again for this show. Going up against Nick Diaz, a real good jiu-jitsu guy out of the Gracie Academy. We've got Tim Sylvia and Andrei Arlovsky, which is going to be a bang fest. Those two are going to stand there and go toe-to-toe. That's going to be a very fun fight. We got Yves Edwards and Hermes Franca. The winner of that moving on to fight Josh Thompson for the title. The return of Genki Sudo. He's fighting a guy named Mike Brown.
Now, what are the chances as far as getting that fight on? Because that fight is scheduled right now as a dark match, right?
Yep. And here's the thing: if we've got Sudo Brown, Tiki Chris Lytle, and one more, I think. Maybe that's it for prelims. And the most exciting fight will be the one that gets aired if we have time.
Mm-hmm. As far as what do you think? As far as with Tito, he's been used to doing 5-round fights, since he's been champion, and this is going to be a 3-round fight. How is that? Does that help him, hurt him? What do you think?
I don't know. Originally when we tried to make this fight, we wanted to make it a 5-round fight. We thought that this thing was worthy of being a special 5-rounder, and Tito didn't want to do it.
Really?
Yeah, which is strange to me because if I was Tito or Tito's management, I would think Liddell's never been 5, and Chuck has a history for gassing.
It's funny you say that because I would have thought the same thing that, because in my mind on this fight, one of the key things is that if it goes longer, you think that it favors Tito just because, Tito hasn't gassed in a fight in a long time, and Chuck has gotten tired in his last couple of fights.
Yep. The last time you saw Tito gas was against Frank Shamrock.
Right.
And Tito hasn't gassed since, so I was shocked that he didn't want to fight 5 rounds.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So have you ever thought of making all main events just mandatory 5 rounds?
Not really. I think there's some fights that fans would want to see go 5 and some that they could care less.
Yeah.
I think this is definitely one that they would have liked to have seen gone 5.
BJ Penn, of course, big upset over Matt Hughes,
right.
Winning the 170-pound welterweight championship. Is he going to fight at 170 or fight at 155? And I noticed Matt Hughes is going to fight Verissimo, which is BJ's trainer, coming up in June.
Correct. Yeah. The name of the show is going to be Payback, and it's Ken versus Chemo, Baroni versus Tanner, Matt versus Ruto, Frank Trigg versus Dennis Hallman. So, a lot of scores to settle.
Yeah, those are all grudges or rematches, yeah.
Exactly. And then Lee Murray will be in that mix somewhere, too. As far as BJ goes, BJ's still trying to figure out exactly what he wants to do. I don't know if he's going to kick back and see what happens with Ceruto and Matt Hughes. If Matt Hughes beats Ceruto, maybe he fights Hughes again. I don't know what he's going to do right now. I think he's just kind of waiting to see how everything shakes out.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because Ceruto did a number on Carlos Newton, surprised a lot of people.
Did a number on Carlos Newton, and he did, originally when I first saw him was in Hawaii. And let me tell you, he did a real number on Gil Castillo.
Mm-hmm.
When he beat Gil Castillo the way that he beat him, I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "This kid's in the UFC for sure."
Yeah.
And then he came in and beat Carlos Newton. I said when we were flying we were flying in the plane from Mohegan, I told Lorenzo, I said, "Carlos Newton better take this guy serious," and he won.
Now, are there any guys that you've seen tapes of or coming in that you're really high on that we haven't seen yet?
We get lots of tapes and stuff, but Joe Silva pretty much goes through all the tapes. I don't really do that. I'm a big fight fan, so whenever I can, whenever I have time, I'll shoot out and go watch another show and check it out. But as far as sitting down and studying tapes and watching them, I seriously don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Silva does that.
Okay, we are totally out of time. Dana, any thoughts as far as the type of we got a prediction as far as I think Arlovsky's got a shot at Sylvia?
Absolutely. Oh, God, yeah. Arlovsky's nasty. I mean, his stand-up is great. He had 3 rounds with Pedro Hizzo before he got caught. He's the real deal. That's going to be a very, very tough test for Tim Sylvia. It's going to be a great fight.
All right. Well, we are totally out of time. I think it's probably going to be a pretty strong lineup here. I think it's going to be a really good pay-per-view, and I want to thank Dana for being on the show. And again, real quick, Of course, you can go to WrestlingClassics.com to get the BRISCO book, and that pay-per-view that we talked about is also going to be a pretty good show because I've seen a lot of those matches before. And I hope everyone has a really good week. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking about the UFC for sure, as well as whatever goes on in professional wrestling during the week. Thanks very much for listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network.